Good morning and welcome to Cooks and Cars. I'm Rob D'Amico. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody out there. Happy holidays alongside Adam Merlin here from Merlin Auto Group. If you want to follow along, where can they follow you on?
MerlinAutoGroup.com, on Facebook, Merlin Auto Group, and on Instagram, Merlin Auto Group.
Yeah, good stuff. And we're here in Atlanta, obviously broadcasting live, and it was a little chilly. I'm going to be honest. It was kind of cold, but I think I ran into some ice coming in. So that's always a fun thing to do on your way in.
Super cold. So we've talked on every show so far about, cooking on your egg in the cold. And I decided it was Christmas, so I had to cook on my eggs. So I made some chicken wings, and I was checking to see if the lid was frozen, and my lid was not frozen. My doors in my what's that island thing I have?
It's called an island.
So the cooking island I have, my doors were frozen closed.
Yep.
But that was easy to overcome. And it was very chilly to cook, but the product was worth it. Made some chicken wings for the second time in my life. They were actually very edible this time. Last time they were very charred.
Yeah. Well, you cook them direct. So we're going to get into that here in a little bit with our guest coming up today. Today we have Darkside of the Grill. He'll be joining us here in a little bit to talk a little bit about chicken wings. He has a giant turkey. So I think the turkeys up in Canada still take steroids. We'll have to check into that.
Yeah, up in Canada. He knows a little about cold too.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to laugh at us and go, cold? Come on, guys. What are you?
Yeah.
Newbies, and we're going to say yes.
I love it. Brag about how cold it is. Go for it. You can have that one.
All right. I hope everybody had a great Christmas. Happy holidays to everybody out there. If you want to follow along, you can do so on our website, cooksandcars.com, where you can find the show broadcasting live, or go back and find it on our YouTube and Facebook pages as well. All those links are going to be at cooksandcars.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, all that great stuff, and Facebook, and we appreciate you guys doing that. Also, you can follow along with me at Rob D'Amico, ROB. DAMICO. So we appreciate that. So right now we're going to bring on our next guest. It is Mel from Canada, and he's part of the BGE Team Green. And if you see him on camera right now, that's usually a studio that has a lot of liquor behind him. But today he, made it family friendly and put the curtain up there for us. We do appreciate it. Darkside of the Grill joins us live on Cooks and Cars. Mel, welcome to the show.
How you doing, boys? Thanks for having me.
So we joke about being cold here in Atlanta. So what is it up there in Canada?
It is 5 degrees Fahrenheit today, and this is t-shirt.
Oh, that's
weather.
warm.
And you're actually outside broadcasting with a t-shirt on.
Yeah, that's it's t-shirt weather. So it's
that's nuts.
It's cold up here. I hate it. I'd move to the States in a heartbeat if I could, but
yeah, Minnesota to warm up a little.
I don't know. I'd go visit Ron in Florida probably. That sounds fantastic out there.
Yeah, Ron, Captain Ron down in Florida, one of our other influencers. He's always down there by poolside, by the way.
That's it.
Yeah. Hey, so we're talking wings today, man. You got any good tips on some wings? What can we do today?
I sure do. So my favorite way, getting that egg expander out, right? And I like to do half live fire and half indirect. Okay. So I'll do the wings on the indirect side, get them close to where I want them, and then I'll roll them over the live fire to get that char to finish them off. And if you're going to sauce them, now would be the time to dump them in your sauce and double sauce them back onto the fire. And I love them.
Here's the hardest thing that I have when it comes to cooking on the egg. Like a normal grill, and I guess this was probably wrong too. I would consistently open the top of the grill and check on my stuff, right? When you're cooking on the egg, that makes your temperatures, vacillate dramatically the more you open it up. And then you get, the next thing you know, I got this flame coming. It's like, it's like a bonfire coming through. So how do you, do you do everything by time? How do you monitor that?
Well, I do open it, not a fair bit, but you do open it throughout the cook. The trick is to burp it. You actually crack it open, let the air slide into it before you open it up, and then you don't get that ball of fire. That's the first one. And then you can't even cook with the lid open if you have the indirect and direct side. That way you can manage what you're doing just like you would a gas grill. It's the more you play with it, the more you get to know the inner workings of it, and the more you feel comfortable, especially different cooks, right? Some are greasy, some aren't, some dry out fast.
Yeah, and some of them, when we say, opening the dome and closing it, if you're looking, you ain't cooking is the saying that they like to use. But in this instance, with the chicken wings being direct, so you set it up with a fire bowl and the divider in there, and put the hot coals on one side, the nothing on the other side, so you can go back and forth. So what temperature are you moving it from the indirect, or I should say the offset side, back onto the fire direct side? What temperature are you about there?
Well, if the dome is shut and reading the gauge, we're going to say anywhere between 325 and 375 is my ideal wing temperature, right? You definitely want that skin to crisp up, even if it is indirect, right? You want to blast it with that heat, and you pull them at 165, right? Chicken, I don't trust chicken, so I always make sure I hit 165 or better on that. Yeah, and that's like I'm a good fan of getting a nice crust on it right off the bat. That way it holds the juices in. They're always tender, right?
Yeah. So, at what point with the sauce do you use with the sauce? What point do you put that on? Do you do it after, or you said like the double saucing? So you're doing it in a bowl, and then are you brushing some on later?
Yeah. If I'm doing, say, like a hot wing, I'll start with them in a freezer bag with hot sauce already. I'll marinate them for a couple hours. Then I'll cook them, and once they're at the point they're ready to come off, I will double dip them in a fresh set of sauce. Fill up a bowl, give it a splash right in front of the grill, and then put them back on, roll them over the fire.
So talk a little bit about the preparation. We talk a lot about cooking the product actually on the grill. What we don't talk a lot about is how you prepare, whether it's the steak, the chicken, whatever it is, but to go on the grill. And I find that to be critically important in this process. So if you're going to cook chicken wings, your plan is to cook chicken wings tomorrow, right? What are you doing? Is it frozen chicken wings you buy at the store? When do you start thawing? Kind of go through that quickly if you can.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, so if I'm buying chicken wings, usually I'll buy fresh. It's just easier, right? They're already thawed, they're ready to go. There's no surprises. So if I buy fresh or frozen and you defrost them, once you get to the thawed point, right, you're going to pull them out, pat them dry with a paper towel, right? You never wash your chicken, so you pat them dry with a paper towel. And then depending if you're going with a dry wing or a sauced wing, if you're going with a dry wing, an hour before you're ready to cook them, throw them in a bowl, your spices, roll them around a bit, put them back in the fridge. I like to let everything sit, whether it be ribs or chicken wings, whatever. I like it to sit in its rub at least for a little bit before it hits the grill. That gives you a chance to go out, get it lit, get it tuned in, dialed into where you need it, come back, get your protein, bring it out, and then you're ready to go. If it's sauced, a marinade, 4 hours, sometimes 8 hours, depending. My hot wings, I'll let them go for 24 hours. I'll do them a day ahead of time. And that's, chicken's super easy. Steaks, same deal, right? You'll pat it dry. If I'm doing a nice steak, I'll actually hit it with salt, maybe the day before, and I'll dry brine it in the fridge. So you put it on a cooling rack with a bit of salt on it, let it dry brine. You get a killer crust that way as well. And you can control what you're doing with those proteins a bit better than just pulling it out of the cryovac and tossing it on there.
Hey, real quick, when you're talking about brining, yeah, obviously a lot of people did turkey this time of year. Talk about chicken. I know a lot of people like to brine chicken, but what about chicken wings? Because they're so small and there's not a ton of meat on there. Do you ever brine a chicken wing?
So the closest I'll get is my dill pickle wings. Big Green Egg has actually a dill pickle hot sauce, which is fantastic. What I'll do is I'll throw a batch of chicken wings in a freezer bag and then take the pickle juice out of the jar and let them soak in there like a pickle juice brine for a day, sometimes 2 days before I roll them over on the Big Green Egg. Wow. And it does help a bit. It penetrates the skin a bit, but the whole point of brine is for it to get into the meat, and with the skin to meat ratio on a chicken wing, it's almost pointless. Yeah. For me,
the thing for me with chicken, I'm so scared of messing. If I didn't know if I'd let them sit overnight in the fridge, if then they'd be bad, and I'd cook them, and then next thing you know, all these food poisoning issues. Yeah, I mean,
doesn't go over well, does it?
No, and that's the scariest part, and trying to figure out. what temperatures and all that stuff. It was, that was my biggest concern. Yes, which is ultimately why the first time I cooked chicken wings, they literally came out completely charred all around, which I like burns, so that was okay. They just didn't taste like anything but char. This time they were a little better, but it's that fear of overcooking them. And maybe direct is not the way to do it if you have that fear, right?
Indirect is the way to go, my friend, for that, for sure, because you can cook them up to 200, 205 indirect, and they'll still be super juicy and not burnt.
Yeah.
That's the trick. And also, I find a lot less of that charcoal smoky flavor, right? When you're rolling over the fire, the grease is hitting the charcoal and steaming back up or smoking back up as well. On the indirect side, none of that's happening. It's just catching that little kiss of charcoal, and it's not overpowering it, right?
I ought to try that, one side. I'm not sure why, but it seems like I, look professional.
That's right. Yeah. You're talking indirect, direct. You sound like a pro.
I need a hat and one of these big green egg shirts. Next thing you know, they call me an influencer.
That's it.
Hey, Mel, there's a couple pictures. If you're watching the video right now, we kept throwing up this picture of you with this turkey, and it's huge. How big was that turkey, and what did you cook it for?
That is a 38-pound turkey, and I'll be cooking that in about a half an hour.
Oh, so that's for today.
That's for today. I don't know if you saw, but I've been doing cooks nonstop this whole 2 weeks. I did a 7-bone prime rib the other day.
So I want you to talk about that, because it looks like that came off the beginning of the Fred Flintstone show. You remember that big pterodactyl ribs he had, or whatever that was? That's what it looks like.
That's exactly it. Yeah. No, that was a beauty. So I do a lot of dry aging in-house, and I dry aged an entire prime rib. 120 days, actually. I dry aged it for 120 days. I trimmed it up. I Frenched all the bones, and then I did it low and slow on the big green egg, rolled it over the fire to finish it off with that crust, and beautiful, medium rare, nice and pink. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Hey, can you talk about dry aging? Because that's something some people, live by. That's how they like their meat. It gives it a more beefy taste, if you will, but sometimes that scares people because some people will describe it as gamey. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, you have to know the people eating the meat for sure. Once you get past 25 days, 30 days, it starts to get almost like this 120-day aged. It smelled almost nutty when I was carving it up, right? Cutting it up. The flavor left that. The nutty flavor leaves it for sure once it's cooked, but it's definitely a lot beefier, a lot more savory meat than just a straight up steak. It's
So what did you cook last night? I mean, Christmas, meal? Is there a lot I imagine there's like a lot of pressure on you to just like blow it out of the water like every special occasion, right?
Last night we had Neptune's Feast off the big green egg using that multi-level expander unit. I had giant warm water lobster tails. I had tiger prawns the size of Canadian lobster tails, U10 scallops, seared in a cast iron on the direct side. It was a beautiful feast. Absolutely beautiful. And I also did a sirloin roast, cut up nice medium rare.
And what's your egg setup look like? That's also something that I always find very fascinating when we talk to these people. Well, they got 2 eggs, 3 eggs, 5 eggs. They got the island. They got Mel. This. So what's your main cooking station look like?
My main cooking station is 2 XLs on the island, on the cart.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then cool. I've got a center shelf in the middle, a prep table, and then I can control both of them because I'm constantly doing pretty big cooks, so I need a few different.
It's like a big green egg DJ out there.
Yeah, I would imagine anybody who lives near you, comes near you, or knows you is always standing at the edge of your driveway wondering what you're cooking that day, right?
No, true story, man. True. All the neighbors know exactly. They'll go and check my page to see what's for dinner.
That's awesome. Hey, I haven't gotten to that point yet. There are not a lot of people in my neighborhood that have eggs that I know of. So far, people have said things smell. They can smell when I'm cooking on the egg, but I don't think the rumor's out that I'm that good of a cook yet.
Not yet.
Nobody's asking for food yet.
It'll get there. Trust me.
Truth be told, man, you throw a pork butt on there with the hickory smoke, low and slow all day. By the time you get halfway through that cook, the smell of the pork with the hickory going all over the block, you'll make new friends. Trust me.
So Mel, tell everybody how many eggs you do have, because you have multiple sizes, everything.
I think we're at 7 now. 7 eggs.
Yep.
So I have the small, the mini max, large, and then a couple extra larges, and then my 2XL, the monster that I'll be doing that bird on.
Yeah, and you usually you do a whole suckling pig on that thing, won't you?
I did a 65-pound pig, yeah, racing style, and I kept, it was, and I kept the trotters on. Usually they'll knock it up a bit. I left it whole, and it was perfect. And believe me, the skin like crack. It was amazing.
Yeah, they it's like the pork rind stuff they make, and they do that. What do they call it in England? Crackling.
Yeah,
crackling. Yeah, that stuff is pretty good. I heard that at an Eggtoberfest once, and I was like, "What the heck is that?" And I tried it, man. It's delicious.
Yeah.
So why does one have a need for not this? I mean, the more eggs, the merrier. It's like, why does somebody need more than one Ferrari? Well,
right.
It's not about need, but what do you do with 7? I mean, what's the, I can't imagine you're cooking on all 7 at any given time. So what's the what's the idea there?
I have the perfect answer for you. Imagine you could drive all 7 Ferraris at the same time.
That'd be cool.
You'd be like an orchestra. Right. Sometimes I have cooks where I have several components of things going, right? 2 of them are set up just for straight live fire. They're at 600 degrees. And when I need to just finish something off, they go there, right? When I have something low and slow, 225 over here, I've got a different kind of smoke in this one than I do this one. Sometimes it gets quite chaotic, but as long as you know what's what and what's doing what, it gets quite nice. And also,
very cool.
Different cooks require different sizes, right? You don't want to fire up a 2XL to cook, a couple steak. So,
yeah, I think I have a problem. Rob talked me into buying an XL. Just I don't know why. They must have greater margins on the XLs than the others. So, revenues must have been down a little bit, and they saw a sucker walk in the door with the eyes light up, and they just sold me the whole shooting match. But I mean, if that was the case,
I would have sold you a 2XL. Come on.
No, you did talk me out of the 2XL, but that was because you didn't have enough accessories, right? I bought every single accessory that they had in the store, so he knew that if he sold me a 2XL, I wasn't going to buy all the accessories. These guys, it's like crack cocaine. They get you in the door, and next thing you know, I mean, it's unbelievable. I had to bring a pickup truck for all of the stuff I bought. But I find I do have that issue. I mean, like I said, not everybody in my family enjoys grilled meat. My wife doesn't even eat meat, so I'm cooking a steak for me and my son on my XL, and it's a complete way. I get this great fire going, and I got all this charcoal in them. It's awesome, and it's I mean. Boom, 8 minutes, it's over. I cooked 2 steaks. It's like a waste almost, so maybe I should get a little mini max or something to, to make that more.
The mini max does definitely help with something like that. Mine, I'm always up in the mountains. So when we go to the mountains, I'll grab the mini max. I can cook anything on that mini max. I've cooked everything you can think of on there, big cooks, small cooks, whatever. But I'll be honest with you, the XL is my favorite egg of all the eggs. Because of the size of the firebox, you're able to split the coals very efficiently, and you can cook literally anything on that XL. And that
so explain. So split the coals. Explain. Yeah, explain to a novice what that means.
This is what you need to do for your XL when cooking steaks.
Yeah. So what you do is you pile all of the coals to one half of the egg inside of that fire bowl. That way, you have one side that's like in indirect and then direct. So one side is now working like an oven. There's no flame ups, there's no flare ups, there's no nothing. And on this side, you have live fire burning right now. So you are able to cook very gently on this side while having a raging inferno on this side. It's quite nice. And the XL has that ability, no problems. So
yeah, what I've been doing is I use one of the big green egg fire starter things, and I was starting my fire in the middle. And what was happening was I'd have this really nice fire in the middle of the XL, and everything that was there was getting charred, and the fire was not evenly spread throughout the whole grill, and I didn't know what to do to fix that other than to put fire starters all around the perimeter and try to do it that way. How do you handle that?
So when I'm lighting my egg, I'll light it from the center, and it'll burn its way out, but I'm usually smoking something. So I'll be setting wood chunks in there. And that way, as the coals burn out, they'll grab different wood chunks and the smoke will last throughout the cook instead of throwing it all in the middle and then the smoke just being gone in a half an hour, right? If you're trying to chase your red coals with how you lit your fire, your best bet would be to move your red coals around a bit. If you have a few red coals that make it all the way through, you want a whole bed, that's the best way to do it for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah. That makes sense.
We're talking to Darkside of the Grill. I'm Rob D'Amico, Adam Merlin here, Cooks and Cars. We appreciate you coming on with us this morning. Real quick, before you head out, I know you guys do a podcast as well, After the Cook. Talk about that a little bit, where they can find it. Yeah,
so we do After the Cook. Mostly it's barbecue related. We also do a lot of bourbon chat, and it's more chatting.
Hold on. A lot of bourbon talk.
A lot of bourbon talk. Yeah. What the whole premise of that show is when the job is done and the pits are all cooling off and everything's done, the kids have been served, and now you sit down in your lawn chair and you just take it all in, everything that's happened throughout the day to get you there. And that's what that chat's about. That's the people, the warriors that put through that battle all day long. You get to talk about your war stories, about the day, things you encountered. You learn a ton talking to people after everything's been settled. And you make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. This way they come out. Everyone gets to hear it, learn from it, and it saves you some time in the future. It's a great show. Absolutely great show. We had Lane Taylor on last week. We got some big names lined up for 2021. It's great. It's on my YouTube channel, Darkside of the Grill. You can also find it on Instagram, After the Cook, and also on my Darkside of the Grill on Facebook.
Hey, Taylor was busy last week. Wasn't he on our show too?
Yeah, he was on our show, and then he actually did I got to give him some love, man. He came on the show. He talked about doing his Thanksgiving cook, and he decided to up the game, and he did 200 meals that he provided. There's some pictures up on the screen now of Lane. 200 meals he did for Christmas and handing them out in Green Bay. So doing some good in the neighborhood, and we appreciate a guy like that who goes out of his way, on injured reserve right now, not playing football, but be able to give back like this. Pretty cool deal, man. We appreciate that.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart. I love Lane.
Yeah, I wouldn't call him a sweetheart because he's a little bit bigger than I am. I think you got a good chance against him. Hey, Mel, talk about one thing before we head out here. Is you mentioned it earlier when you were talking about it, live fire. The difference there is you hear people talk about different cookers and what they can do with that. An egg is one that delivers true live fire. Besides having a hole in the ground with literally logs and fire in there, this is a true live fire device.
Yeah, that's one of my main points that drew me to the egg itself, is that it can take that kind of beating and still keep on rolling. It takes a lot of abuse on standard equipment, steel equipment, when you're rolling that kind of live fire. The egg being ceramic, it can take it. It's actually quite amazing. And also, you can have a rolling inferno of fire and literally shut the lid, shut the vents, and it's done. It just snuffs right out, no oxygen, and it just takes it to nothing instantly. It's an amazing way to do it. But I really like cooking with live fire, the Brazilian, Argentinian style picanha, different steaks, searing them off over the live fire. You do even a kiss with my favorite is octopus, a marinated grilled octopus, and then you roll her over the live fire to finish it off. It gets a perfect char on it that can't be replaced. You have to have flames to get that taste, to get that level, the penetration on it, the crispiness, and it's amazing. You'll see guys do romaine lettuce. They'll oil and salt romaine lettuce and then roll it over that live fire. And what happens is it crisps the edges, but the lettuce is still raw. And now you've injected that flavor profile into the lettuce, which is now a salad, and it's not soggy.
Wow.
Yeah, I will say I've had that before, and it is fantastic. A little dressing on that. You could put some blue cheese, any kind of feta cheese, something like that, and you can do it that way. Hey, I want real quick, if you got a question for Mel before he heads out, you can do so on our Facebook and YouTube chat channel right there. I see Joe saying thank you for some of the information. Julie Bledsoe watching from Knoxville, Tennessee. Appreciate you coming on with us. Jason, he wrote something. It's hard when you have an egg that's small. On a large egg, do a smaller fire. And that's what you were kind of talking about, is moving the flames to one side or the other. So great questions there. And I think we have a few others that coming in that Ryan's going to help put us up here, and we'll get some of those here in a second as well.
Hey, Mel, are you a car guy at all? The
Yes.
show's called Cooksing. Okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit about cars.
I can do that. I grew up in a garage, so.
Oh, nice. What you got?
Yeah.
What, you have any toys of your own, or you?
I have an H2 with a lift kit supercharged.
Oh, wow.
So that's my daily driver. She's a monster truck. I
year is it?
She's an 03.
Oh,
Classic.
wow. First year.
Yeah, classic.
Those things have gone up in value crazy. I mean, you go try to find an 09 with low miles, you can't believe how much money they're worth.
Well, that makes me happy, because everyone's like, why don't you sell that thing and buy a Kia?
Yeah.
I'm like, I refuse. Like, it doesn't make sense for the most part. Don't care. Like,
Right.
I would much rather be sitting in that thing than sitting in a Kia. So I'm just gonna, and it fits me real nice. So I'm not gonna lie. It's a great little chariot for me.
Is it green?
No, it's black on black with black.
Oh, nice.
And I've got a big bush bar in the back. It's pretty gnarly. It's
sweet.
So
yeah,
do you have it all murdered out, is what they like to call it, with the
Yes.
black lights? Oh, yeah. You got it.
She's completely murdered. Yeah, that's
All right.
And even when I feel like a young lad again, I'll throw the subs back in it, right?
Oh, wow, nice.
The wife loves that, right? With the babies.
Oh, heck yeah. Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, we got a question coming in. We'll ask this question here, and let's see here. It says, John, just got my first egg for Christmas. What should be my first cook? That's always a great question, especially this time of year, because a lot of those guys and girls out there are getting new eggs. And for the first time, what do you suggest they do a cook? You know, obviously it's not go out and do the brisket or a pizza or something like that. But what do you recommend as their first cook?
I love something slow, something easy right off the bat. Do a nice little pork tenderloin. Do something very forgiving, right? You don't want to jump into something crazy yet. You want to learn your smoke profiles and stuff like that. Do a nice pork loin, maybe some pork chops, some thicker pork chops. Throw some potatoes on there. Cut up some potatoes, put them in a small pan. That's my go-to. Every time someone says, "Oh, what can I do?" That's where I start. For sure, pork roast or even a beef roast, small sirloin tip, something like that. For sure.
All right. Hey, looks like Julie just responded again and said, yes, I've learned some new tricks to try out. Can't wait to share with my husband. Inspired to cook on my egg in the cold now. So, hey, there you go. Right up Mel's alley there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't let that stop you up here. And I'm not bragging. I don't love it. But up here, minus 40 Celsius, the egg still works. Just saying.
No doubt. Doesn't change anything, does it?
Yeah. There's no weather blanket you need for this thing. The fire on the inside is what it is. It's perfect.
See, talk about that, because a lot of these metal grills that are out there, you have to have a blanket that goes over it, an insulated blanket, just to keep the heat in, because with metal, obviously it lets the heat out. With the ceramics, not the case.
Well, I've cooked on just about everything under the sun, and I'm not going to name names or anything like that, but say you were running a pellet grill of some kind, right? In minus 20s, minus 30s, minus 40s, it's not going to get the temps you want. It's going to fight with you. They're coming out with new technology now to pound it, but back in the day, like, it wouldn't even get half where you wanted it to get. Whereas a charcoal fire with ceramic, it heats up to that temperature on the inside, regardless of what's happening outside.
Yeah, hey, we're going to head out here. Mel, we appreciate your time, but is there a car? You got your supercharged H2. Is there a car that's kind of on your wish list?
1967 Mustang Fastback.
All right.
Or my dad's 51 Merc, the old lead sled, two-door.
So would you try to track that down? Did he have one? And have you tried to go find it?
Oh, he's got both. He's
Oh,
got
we still
both
got
right
him.
now. Oh yeah,
Gotcha.
he's got 'em. Yeah.
That's a
I'm
lot
on
of
the
fun.
waiting list. I love you, Dad.
We've had a lot of clients who either wanted to buy back their first cars and stuff like that, and tracking those things down has been really it's one of the most fun things that we can do is literally looking for not like a type of car, for the specific car that means something to somebody. So you're lucky that your dad still has both, and you're lucky, your dad's, I'm sure you'd rather have your dad than the cars. I learned that early. My 9-year-old wanted a bunch of Apple products that I had, and one day we were talking. He realized if I died, he got them all, and his eyes got lit up. I was like, "Wait a minute!"
He kept surprising you in the closet every now. What are you doing in there?
But now I think he'd rather have me than the product.
That's right.
That's cool.
All right, Mel, we're gonna head out. Where can people find you online?
Instagram, Darkside of the Grill. YouTube, Darkside of the Grill. Facebook, Darkside of the Grill.
All right, Mel, thank you very much. Great information today, and we appreciate you having you on. Happy holidays, happy New Year. If we don't see you again, and we'll catch you on the flip side in 2021.
Awesome. See you all later.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. All right, we're going to take a break here. We'll come back. We're going to talk some cars. I think we got some questions lined up. I saw them coming up, and they're talking about values of different cars and how and what percentages and all that stuff that they can make off these cars. So we'll talk about that coming up next. So stick around. This is Cooks and Cars.
Adam Merlin, president of Merlin Auto Group, and over the past 12 years, we've been successful at building our business with the undying focus of taking the pain points out of what normally is a miserable process, which is buying an automobile. And it was on this mindset that about 2 years ago, we launched our service department. Because let's face it, the only thing that's potentially negative about owning these exotics or ultra luxury cars is the fact that you have to service them, is the fact that they stand the chance of possibly breaking and you don't know what's wrong. It's the fear of the unknown that we as the consumer sometimes are really nervous about before we go and buy that Ferrari, before we go and buy that Aston Martin. And that's the reason we started Merlin Auto Group Service Department. We went out and got factory trained, certified technicians for Ferrari, Maserati, Bentley, Aston Martin, Rolls-Royce, and Porsche to make sure that you had somebody that you can rely on to help you manage your automotive investment and make sure that the right things were getting fixed, they were getting fixed the right way by people who knew how to fix them and were willing to take the time, answer your questions, and make sure that you were satisfied and you understood what was going on. If you're looking for a shop where you can get an appointment easily, where we'll answer the phone, where you can talk to the technician, where we genuinely care about your problem and truly want to help you solve it and be your partner in your automotive ownership experience, you need to give us a chance here at Merlin Auto Group.
There's a place where fire and flavor are celebrated, where grilling traditions and new techniques are perfected. Here in Big Green Egg Country, you can grill it, roast it, smoke it, or bake it. It's the most versatile grill you'll ever own. Simple to light, easy to use, comes with a free lifetime warranty. Have it delivered to your door by a certified dealer in your community and start enjoying the ultimate cooking experience. Shop online for home delivery at biggreenegg.com. That's biggreenegg.com.
Welcome back to Cooks and Cars. I'm Rob D'Amico alongside Adam Merlin from the Merlin Auto Group. And happy holidays to everybody. And don't forget, you can interact with us. That's what's the big part about this show, is that we like when you guys get in the chat and ask questions. And whether it's just comments, saying hello, that's fine too. And we've got a lot going on in the chat room now. So we appreciate everybody who's doing that. Some great questions coming up as well.
All right. So end of the year, talking cars. We talked a little bit last week about, buying new cars at the end of the year and incentives and stuff like that. But when it comes to exotic cars and pre-owned cars and finding that classic car that you want, it really doesn't matter what time of year it is. All that really matters is the car, the actual car itself. And that's the most important thing. When you find the right car that you want, then you need to pull the trigger. I don't care if it's the first day of the month, the last day of the month, the end of the year, the beginning of the year. When you decide you're ready and you know what you want, that's the most important thing. And then when you find the right example, no two pre-owned cars are created equally, I like to say. So the best time to buy your pre-owned exotic or classic or whatever it is when you find the right car. And there are no standard rules. I saw we have a question about Carfax, which we'll get to. That's an interesting thing. All these tools that all the experts tell you to look for when you're buying a car, and you should never buy a car that's been in an accident, and you should never. Well, my mom always taught me to never say never. So, and that really applies. So we'll get into all that.
Yeah, I saw you. Yeah. Here we got a question coming in now. Tim, how important is a Carfax, and what if it's been in an accident?
Well,
that's a good question.
Yeah, right. So, look, Carfax is a company that's done an incredible job marketing. And they have convinced you, the consumer, that that Carfax should determine whether or not you buy a car. Now, I like to evaluate a car on its own 2 feet, every single car. In 20 plus years of selling cars, I've sold cars that if you looked at the Carfax alone, you would have thought the car had been absolutely destroyed in some massive accident and it could never have been put back together. And that's just factually incorrect, and then I have some cars that look like they've been destroyed and been put back together by a kindergarten class with, Elmer's glue and paper mache. And the Carfax indicates that the car has been meticulously serviced and it's perfect. Yeah. So the Carfax is a resource. It provides you information. Sometimes the information is not accurate. Sometimes it is. But what I tell everybody, you need to evaluate the car. Just because a car's been in an accident, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad car. I mean, Imagine sitting at a red light, right? In that fancy Maserati you're driving out there, Rob.
Yes.
Imagine sitting at a red light. Somebody doesn't pay attention. They're behind you. They're stopped, right? Their foot, they slip their foot off the brake. They roll into the back of your car.
Yep.
Right. Get out. You hit my Maserati. You get all. There's probably not even a scratch. But
Adam's gonna kill me.
But you call the cops, right?
Yes.
Okay. The police come out. They write a police report. Now all of a sudden, that car on the Carfax report shows that it's been in an accident.
Yeah.
Let's say you're driving whatever it is. This happens all the time, and it happens a lot in rear end collisions where you're driving whatever kind of car you're driving, and you get rear ended by a car that's a lot smaller than you. They could have hit you at 10 miles an hour.
Yep.
Literally nothing happens to your car. Their car looks like it might be totaled.
Oh yeah.
Well, then you'll pull the Carfax report on your car. Because of the extent of the damage on that other car,
it gives
the police officer may have clicked the box that shows moderate damage.
Yep.
So now all of a sudden your car shows that it sustained moderate damage. Well, that's a scary number, right? That's a scary adjective. So what I say is, we have tools in the trade, and there are experts out there that can evaluate the extent of damage a car received. If we don't see it, you can determine if the car has original paint on the panels. You can determine if the panels have been replaced. You can determine if any part of the frame or the structure of the car has been replaced. Those are things that are important. The Carfax reports, the auto check reports, we find auto checks to be far more accurate than Carfax reports. I believe Carfax has ruined the automobile business because it encourages people to make poor decisions.
Well, real quick, it should be taken as a resource. Okay, so I know that this thing's been in an accident. Now it's for me to take my eyeballs, put it on that car, and see if I can find anything like where a hood maybe put back together with a fender that's got some weird spacing in it or something. Then you can kind of see, okay, maybe this was the front, quarter panel that they didn't put on right.
And look, and you're talking at a level, and I'm not saying that you're an expert or a novice, but there's a lot of people that when they're already intimidated when they're going to buy a car, and they already don't know what they don't know. So it's just very easy with the power of the marketing from a Carfax to see, oh, it's been an accident. I'm just not going to buy that one. Yeah. It's been an accident. Yeah. And then they believe, we've had people bring cars to us for pre-purchase inspections, and we'll be like, well, do you know that this car's been in an accident? And they're like, no, it hasn't. The Carfax doesn't show it's been an accident. And I was like, well, the Carfax, just because the information is not reported.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine a guy goes out to dinner, wealthy guy driving his Ferrari, has a few too many drinks, drives home, runs off the road, hits a tree. It's 3:00 in the morning, calls his buddies in the car business. That guy calls his tow truck driver, says, I'm going to give you $2,000. You need to go pick up this Ferrari that's on the side of the road quickly. They take it to a body shop. The guy pays $50,000 to have this thing done. There's no police report. There's no insurance claim. But meanwhile, that car had $50,000 worth of damage done to it. But the Carfax shows that it's clean.
Never happened. Right.
Well, and those are the things. That's why it's so important to really, to either know what you're looking at or have a professional look at it for you so that you can really evaluate the car for what the car is on its own, on its own merit, not so much, what the tools say. Now, I mean, no different than anything you evaluate, right? Even when you're shopping for an egg, right? You're going to look at what competitors, if there are, comparable, type grills. And I mean, I know everything with the eggs patented and all that, but I mean, I'm sure people have tried to rip it off in other ways. And, you look at it, you look at prices, you look at reviews, you look at all that stuff. You assemble all the information you can to make an informed decision. It's the same thing with a car. So I would advise to look at the Carfax, look at the auto check, look at market comps, but really don't let any one thing determine why you will or will not buy that car.
Okay, we got another question coming in. It's Bill in Atlanta. My dome is frozen to my base and I can't open the egg. What do I need to do? So we talked about this on a couple of shows ago, and we really went in depth on that. So what happens is, here in Atlanta, I'll give you the exact example that happened to Bill. And Bill, we had rain that came in, temperatures dropped down. What happens is the gasket builds in some of that moisture, and then it freezes when the temperature gets below that freezing point. And then it's stuck closed. What you have to do is, if you know it's going to drop before the temperatures like that, you can open the dome, put some tinfoil or some parchment paper in there, and then put the dome back down, and that'll take care of that problem. It won't stick. If you happen to forget to do that and it does freeze, what you can do is open the top regulator or the daisy wheel, whatever version you have up there. You could take a little fire charcoal starter, drop it down inside, but lighting it outside, dropping it inside, so the fire builds up some heat, and then it releases the freezing point in there. Or you can do it through the draft door at the bottom. Open that up, throw a charcoal starter in there, or some paper towel that you just want to light on fire. Just need to get a little heat inside there, and that'll break that up for you. So that's one of the things we talked about, and that's what the show is for. Great questions like that, Bill. Thank you very much. We do appreciate it. But I want to go back to the car side and talk about the Carfax side of that, because you do, like you mentioned, there are things that you guys that I would walk in and go, oh, there's not an issue there. But I've also walked in, like I've seen cars where you walk up and you notice the door looks like it's a different color. It's just off a little bit. It's, and that door obviously got hit and they tried to repaint it and couldn't match it as well. So those are some of the things you got to look at as a professional that maybe, myself or some of the listeners out there wouldn't know to do.
Yeah, look, and I mean, and just because a door's been hit and it's been repainted, that doesn't make it necessarily a bad car. I mean, so many accidents that take place, especially depending on where you live. If you're in Atlanta, the odds of you, if you're driving a car every day, the odds of you having damage to that car, whether it's from an accident or, running into your garage or bumping into a curb or whatever it is, I mean, the odds are good that car is going to sustain some damage at some point. Again, it doesn't make it a bad car. So, evaluate what the damage is, determine what it is you're trying to do with that car. And it's even harder on older cars. We have people that'll call us up looking at a 1986 Ferrari 328 we have online. Does the car have any previous paintwork? You're like, I'm sure it does, and the fact of the matter is, one of the reasons why I know it does is because the paint looks spectacular. When this car came from Ferrari in Italy in 1986, the paint looked terrible. Yeah. I mean, these things were hand painted. It was horrendous. The quality of the paint back then versus what it is today, it's two totally different things. So, it's the power of the internet, it's the good of the internet, and it's the bad of the internet, right? Sometimes people ask buzzword questions because, that's what some, expert on the internet tells them to ask, but they don't know the why to the question, right? And that's, it's like taking a piece of meat, throwing it on the egg and believing it's going to come out perfect just because the egg's supposed to make it good. There's preparation that still goes into it. It's like I was asking Mel, what do I do to the wings before I put them on to make sure that they're good?
Yeah.
Right. I get it. If I take wings, put them on an egg, or I take wings and put them on my gas grill and didn't do anything to them, they're going to come out better on the egg. But, there's still a lot of information that you need to know
Absolutely.
going in, and it's the same thing. It's the most important thing I'd say, especially if you're buying an exotic or something that's a lot of money, that's not just that's not your daily transportation. Hire a professional to help you through the process.
All right, we got another question here. It's Rebecca. I don't know where she's from. My husband bought a 2008 Ferrari 430. Will he be able to make money on this car if he sells it in the future when upgrading to another newer Ferrari?
Rebecca, it's a good question. We know Ferrari is the most collectible and investable car brand out there. You see some Ferraris bringing 6, 7, 8, 9 figures at these auctions. And it's because Enzo Ferrari created the business and always wanted to make one less car than the market would demand. So it's simply supply and demand. The 430 is a later, more modern model. They certainly made more of those. So it's hard to make money on a 430, but a lot of it depends. In 2009, Ferrari stopped making the true gated manual transmission, clutch, real clutch, real gated shifter. If your husband bought a 430 with a gated shifter, the odds of it staying with a stable value or potentially going up is good. But the other good thing about 430s is they're really good values right now. I mean, you can buy a nice 430 low miles right around $100,000. You drive that car for 5 years and probably sell it for around 100,000 miles. So, depending on what the 430 is that your husband bought, I wouldn't say that he's going to necessarily make money, but, the odds of him losing a lot of money, if y'all went out and bought a $50,000 luxury car, I promise you're going to lose a lot more money on that than you would the Ferrari. Now, there are certainly Ferrari models that if you buy today, the longer you keep them, the more money you're going to make.
Yeah, I want to bring that up because that's one of those things is like, at what point is a car worth keeping longer to bring that value up? Or if you come in at a good price when buying that car, how does that work?
Right. Look, I mean, it's just it's like stocks, right? It's like any investment. It's all about timing. It's about market, and sometimes the funny part about exotic and collectible cars is nobody really knows what triggers the market. Right. I mean, Ferraris are Ferraris. Ferrari wins in F1 if they lose. I mean, it's not so much anymore that stuff makes cars go up in value or not. What really happens is when you go to these collector car auctions, these big ones that they used to put on before COVID, and they'll be back again, the Barrett Jacksons, the Sotheby's of the world. You get two billionaires in a room that when they were kids, they wanted a 1985 Ferrari 308, blah, blah, blah. And it just so happens that the nicest one is running at Sotheby's in Amelia Island. Well, those two guys, they don't care what they pay for that car, right? So all of a sudden you get two guys with nothing but money who want that car. They spend $500,000 for that car, right? Now, does that mean that car's really worth $500,000? Well, if you define worth by what somebody's willing to pay, then yeah. But what happens is the tide rises, right? So then all of a sudden, all 308s are going to go up in value because of that triggering event. When you buy these collectible cars, you look at market comps, and that's what drives the prices. So what I try to do is you want to look at, you want to try to buy cars at what you believe to be the bottom of their depreciation cycle, because if nothing else, that protects your downside, right? And then you have to look at supply and demand numbers to figure out, if it's going to go up, how much it's going to go up. 12 cylinders tend to appreciate. They tend to be the most collectible. Any car that has any kind of racing history goes up. There's a lot of factors that go in. So we could do a whole show on that.
Okay. All right. You're watching Cooks and Cars. Appreciate you sticking around with us. I know we had some technical difficulty, but we're okay now. A couple comments coming in. Tim Cox. Adam is the best in the business.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it.
Tim. Also, we have Enzo Ferrari. So I know this has got to be a fake name.
That's a good one.
There's moderate damage, there's major damage, and there's D'Amico damage. That is very true. There is a D'Amico damage out there. And I'll give a quick story. So he's been letting me, Adam's been letting me take some of these cars home, and these cars are great and they're perfect. And I called him one day and I said, oh man, the check engine light came on, and it was literally the gas cap after I put gas in it. It's a little sensitive to that. So I was able to fix that. So now I am a true Maserati technician. So if you have any questions for that, I can answer them for you. I can get that taken care of. No, just kidding. But seriously, there's a thing with me that no matter what I do, sometimes I touch a vehicle, it all goes to hell. And I have a few great stories. When I first started with the Big Green Egg, I actually took a box truck down to Florida from Atlanta. And no joke, every time I passed Cornell, Georgia, which is in the middle of nowhere, I would break down. And I've met the only tow truck driver in the county twice.
Well, this would have been good information to give me before we started letting you drive cars. Funny enough, Rob took 2 different Maseratis home.
Yes.
Both of them immediately. I get calls, the check engine lights on. So, clearly it was
Just
Rob.
me.
It's not the cars. And then we have some clients like that. I mean, quick story. One of my best clients bought a ton of cars from me. Everybody talks about these water-cooled Porsches that are bad, that there's this IMS bearing thing and the Porsche blows up. I've been selling Porsches for 20 years. I've had one in the history of my career blow up. It happened to one client. He had his BMW blow up, who also seems to have,
There's a pattern here.
Without a doubt. And, and look, I mean, I tell him the car gods don't necessarily like him, and it's because of the way he treats his cars.
Yeah.
It's not so much the car. Looks like we have another question up there.
Yeah, it looks like Bruce got a question here, and Bruce says, I can't decide between a Lusso and a Lusso T. I'm undecided. Can you help?
I can help. It's interesting. We try to work with clients that are better at making decisions. And sometimes when you have a hard time making a decision on a car, it can be real challenging. And when you suffer from analysis paralysis, you can watch too many videos and, it just becomes very hard to pull the trigger. Bruce, I happen to know Bruce. He's a very, very, very dear friend, and we're trying to help him solve some car issues. I give him a little bit of a hard time that he can't make, in real life, he can make a decision like that, makes brilliant decisions. When it comes to a car, he can't make a decision. But so I do appreciate the question. But look, I mean, I'm a 12-cylinder guy, so I don't care what any review says. If there's a 12-cylinder all-wheel drive option versus an 8-cylinder rear-wheel drive option, I'm 100% of the time going to be patient and find the right 12-cylinder all-wheel drive car. Now, when it comes to automobiles, I make quick decisions because I don't look at them as $250,000 decisions. If that's the price of a Lusso, I look at it as what's my exit strategy. And quite frankly, if I get a good value on a good car, my exit strategy, if it costs me 20 grand over 2 years, I'm making a $20,000 decision. But what I would say to you, Bruce, my best advice is make a decision about what's important to you. For example, you may be looking to buy a $250,000 Lusso, and the only thing you care about is whether or not it has Apple CarPlay. Is that hard to believe?
That is very hard to believe.
But you can't believe how many of these cars don't have Apple CarPlay. You can walk into a Hyundai dealership. Every car they have is, costs $25,000 and Apple CarPlay standard.
Yeah.
When it comes to Ferrari, 90% of the Lussos on the market today, you could go on cars.com. There's 80 pre-owned Lussos for sale. Of those 80, I think we found 5 that have Apple CarPlay.
Wow.
And you can't retro add it for less than like $25,000, $30,000.
That's crazy.
So
I will say this with Bruce's question. Is this is it going to be a daily driver? Because I know a lot of these guys that buy the FS and the Lussos use them as a daily driver. And with the all-wheel drive, the 12-cylinder, I mean, it is a badass car. I mean, that is one of the cool things. And is it a Lusso, or do you go with an FF, depending on what you're going to do?
Well, so that's interesting. We went through all of this stuff and looking at FFs, there's some unbelievable values out there for FFs.
Yeah.
But then if you look at the Lusso, I mean, you can look at 17, 18, and 19 model year Lussos with under 5,000 miles that had MSRPs of $350,000 or more that you can buy around $200,000, right? And then you go and you look at like a 2013 or 14 FF with 10,000 miles and it's $150,000. And then you say to yourself, well, that's I'm not saying 50 grand's not a lot of money, but the improved technology in the Lusso over that of the FF, some people may say I'd rather go with the newer car. I have free maintenance longer. I may even have a little extended warranty. Some people, my philosophy is you always spend as little as you possibly can to get what you want, because all you care about is really cost of ownership, right?
But never the cheapest, right?
You don't want the cheapest. No, you never want the cheapest. You got to get the best example.
Yeah.
But if you'll be happy with the 10,000 mile 2012 FF that cost $125,000, and you'll be equally happy in a 2019 Lusso that costs $220,000, buy the $120,000 car, because there's no way you're going to lose $100 grand on that.
Yeah.
There is a chance that Lusso will one day then be worth $125 grand. So I know Bruce happens to be buying this car for a daily driver.
Sweet.
Truly a great daily driver.
I love hearing that, man, because I always see these guys that buy these cars and they sit in the garage, and I know they're doing that. But for me, where I am in life, I want a daily driver. I want something I can enjoy every single day.
Look, I love the hunt and the kill of finding the car.
This is right up your alley.
I love finding amazing cars. I love finding cars that are going to be worth money one day.
Yeah.
And those cars, I don't care about ever driving them. I love getting them. I love putting them in our storage warehouse in the vault, and then just knowing they're part of our private collection. They're going to appreciate. They're going to be worth a lot of money one day. But I also do love picking out a car that every time I get in it, I'm happy to drive it. And that's what Bruce wants to do. He wants to get in something that's exciting to get in every day. There's an S63 AMG Mercedes, a great car, and you can drive it every day. Yeah. Are you going to smile every time you go up to it? Not necessarily. I would say Bruce should get an all-wheel drive 12-cylinder Lusso, just because, I'm just, if I know there's a 12-cylinder option and I'm in the 8-cylinder, I want the 12-cylinder.
Right.
But, it's a tough, if these are the types of tough decisions you have to make on a daily basis, you've done something right.
All right, Bruce. I hope that answered your question. I would go with that Lusso if you can get it. But if you find an FF out there, and like he said, the price is right, I would go with that as well. I think you'll be happy with both of those. All right, some great questions today. I got to say thank you to all the fans out there and bearing with us with our technical difficulties here in the office. And some great stuff all throughout the week. You can do so and send those questions in. Also, if you go to cooksandcars.com, you can sign up for our newsletter. We're trying to get a lot of people in there as well. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can do that there. Find our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter accounts, all at cooksandcars.com. All right. I think that does it for today's questions.
Are we going to be next Saturday? Are we going to be here? It's New Year's Day, Eve, whatever, something like that.
Be New Year's. Would it be New Year's Day? Or I think it's the day after.
New Year's. Yeah,
it's the day after. So we'll be here, and we're going to kick off that show. That's going to be our main kickoff. We've been doing these 4 shows earlier to try and work out some of the bugs that we were having. Hopefully, we got those all taken care of. We can move forward with that, and we'll start the real show, if you will, starting that first show of 2021. And speaking of 2021, I found a great meme on online that I wanted to show everybody. This one's great. Check this one out. Just wait till 2020 turns 21 and starts drinking. That's a great one. I love that one. I wish I would have wrote down who I got that from, but I found it online. I thought I wanted to give them credit, but I forgot to get their name and all that, their handle. But I thought that was a great one with 2021. And here's one for my food guys and guys who cook on the grill. This one's great. My second attempt at making a salad. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. As far as I can see, there's nothing wrong with that salad.
That's funny. That's funny. It looks like we got another question in. Do you want to answer that, or you want to?
Let's see here. Which one here? Oh, it's another one from Enzo Ferrari. I can't. That one got me on the last one with the D'Amico comment. So it says, please ask Adam how Carfax gets info from a dealer or shops like his. Do they get paid to turn in the info? Can a car owner opt out and keep their car info private? That's a good question.
So, no, car dealers and shops like ours do not get paid to send information to Carfax. They ask us and encourage us to send them the information. We refuse to do so because we've had too many experiences where they don't report the information that we send accurately.
Yeah.
And then the process to get it corrected is not fluid and fair and reasonable. I'll give you an example. They actually reported on a client of ours, Ferrari Testarossa, that the car was in an accident and it was towed on a date that the car was physically at our shop being serviced. And they claimed that they got that information from us.
Interesting.
And when we challenged it on behalf of our client, they then came back and said that the information was going to stay on the report because they investigated and validated the information. Now, they never called us to validate that information. And it was really that point where we terminated our relationship with Carfax in every way, shape, or form. And we do not provide that information. I don't think there's a way as an owner of a car to keep your information private. And
could they make the request if they brought it somewhere saying, hey, if you're part of this?
No, because it's just a feed that goes out. So it isn't like you pick and choose. Like you don't click a button on this one to send to Carfax. They basically they go through all of your repair orders, and they have a bot that basically reads your repair order and then then puts it on their report. We don't allow them to access that information from us. And listen, we buy a lot of cars, and so the quality of the information that you get is very important. We want as much information as we can get about a car. So I don't believe that somebody should be able to keep all the information on their car private, because I do think that the actual information is fair and reasonable for anybody who's looking to buy a car to be able to ascertain, right? I mean, I almost wish some of the stuff would be a matter of public record. But in it being a matter of public record, there would have to be some kind of regulation to make sure that it's factual and true. And our issue with Carfax is it tends to not be factual and true.
Yeah.
So, there you have it.
All right.
Carfax could pay us a lot of money. We still would not send them the information.
I'm sorry, Ryan. Oh, yeah. Ryan, our producer, back at the I always like to say back at the shop because we're talking cars. And Ryan has a video that I sent that I have our executive producer on his motorcycle mini bike that you won from the Chase Elliott deal.
Oh, cool. Look at that.
He's out there riding it. I thought that was pretty neat. So, Adam, talk about this. This was from the Chase Elliott deal, and you ended up winning the auction for this mini bike.
Yeah, no, that was our first show, and we referred people to go to the Chase Elliott silent auction to benefit his charity and his foundation. And I'm a silent auction sucker, no question about it. And while we were here live on the show, I started bidding, and I bid on quite a few things. That was the only thing I ended up getting because I didn't set the timer to know to go and look back.
Yeah.
But that was we got that at what is it called? Gainesville Motorsports? Is that what it's called?
Dawsonville.
It was up in Dawsonville, but there was.
Maybe it was called Gainesville.
I forgot the name of the place, but it was a super fantastic shop. We finally got the information. I called them up. The lady, I told her who I was. She was like, "Oh yeah, your bike's sitting right here. It's got your name on it. We were waiting for you to come and get it. We went and got it. It was all fully assembled. Really a super cool bike. My 9-year-old son and our executive producer, who has been here live with us at every single show so far, got on it last week and drove it around and kind of showed us how to use it. So
like a champ too, man.
Yeah.
He jumped right on and took off.
Look, like that's awesome. Silent auctions to me, charity auctions are always so much fun. You can buy really cool things, and all the money go to charity.
It's
so
great cause, man. How can you go wrong?
Right. And it certainly helps, justify some of these purchases of things that you certainly don't need.
And we'll be doing some of those throughout the year as well to raise money towards the end of the year and do some good in the neighborhoods that we love to be a part of and broadcast in.
Well, I know you guys donate a lot of eggs to these charity auctions, and they tend to, I mean, if I think it'd be amazing to really count up, how much money gets raised based on, free eggs being donated that people win, at auctions. I think it'd really be amazing. And we try to do some of the same stuff. So
yeah, with the egg, I mean, it does a lot behind the scenes, and I give the eggs some credit because they do a great job when it comes to that. And the eggs always raise money. You know, anybody who does an egg, whether they're actually doing an auction or a promotion, they always see the upside to it, and it does very well. And we'll be doing some of that as well with Cooks and Cars. And I also want to make mention we'll be doing some car shows throughout the country as well, labeled Cooks and Cars. So when you start seeing that pop up, we may do some of our shows out there live, and we got some car shows coming up in the future. That'll be pretty cool in 2021. If it allows us, you know, we want to be safe. We want to, you know, make sure everybody that's listening is safe. We're going to close up the show now. I want to thank all of our guests, Mel, Darkside of the Grill there, for coming on with us. Adam, great information there on the cars, and everybody who's asked questions. Today was a great day for interaction. We do appreciate it, and thank you very much for joining us today. Happy holidays. We'll see you back in the new year, 2021. For Adam Merlin, I'm Rob D'Amico. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in to Cooks and Cars.
Happy New Year.